I'm Thinking of Ending Things is a 2020 American surrealist psychological thriller film written and directed by Charlie Kaufman, adapted from the 2016 novel by Ian Reid. A young woman begins to have second thoughts after traveling with her new boyfriend to his parents' isolated farmhouse. Okay, so I watched I'm Thinking of Ending Things recently, which is made by one of my favorite screenwriters of all time, Charlie Kaufman. He's created classics or written classics such as Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Being John Malkovich, Adaptation, Synecdoche, I believe, Synecdoche, New York. But yeah, I mean, just to name a few, of course, he's made others. But I mean, this film itself, I was of course very excited to see it. It's on Netflix. It's Netflix produced, and it was quite the experience, I must say. Nothing at all. I mean, to be honest, you can't really go into Kaufman's films with a very precise expectation. You sort of just have to let yourself be surprised, and I definitely was. I'm Thinking of Ending Things is a cerebral psychological thriller that blends surrealism, existential dread, dark humor. It explores themes of identity, memory, time, aging. Aging is probably the hugest thematic component of this film, but it also explores regret and the fragile boundaries of oneself. The film itself is very true to Kaufman's signature style. By the way, the film is actually, I'm not sure if it was shot like this, but when you're watching the film on Netflix, it has a 1.37 to 1 aspect ratio, which of course is a very unconventional ratio to have, and apparently Netflix actually pushed back against this. But ultimately, the ratio I just read out is the one I watched in. So I guess Kaufman reigns superior, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that just sort of gives you a hint or an idea as to how unconventional his artistic and directorial style is. It's very complex. It's very introspective. It's filled up with lots of symbolic layering. It's very dreamlike too, which I guess, to give you an idea, it's often sort of like David Lynch type of dreamlike. Lynchian tone, I guess, is the preferred terminology. But that's especially so in the increasingly fragmented third act of this film. The last 20 minutes are insane. It's so many different types of insane in a good way too, I might add, but it's so many artistic styles crammed into one, and it's so metaphorical. It is so psychologically ambiguous, and his type of style, Charlie Kaufman's type of storytelling ability, it reigns over the traditional type. This is not in no way a traditional storytelling film. It has lots of non-linear sort of methods when trying to explore this story. So much, in fact, that it feels like there's not even a story at all to this film. It really just feels like stuff happens. But yeah, it's very visually experimental. There's at one point there's so much exaggerated makeup, and it's very theatrical. It has a lot of theatrical set pieces. It has very abrupt tonal shifts. This is not your average film, is what I'm trying to get at. But that's just a few. I don't know. It's a film you kind of have to experience for yourself. Performances wise, though, Jessie Buckley, she is incredible in this film. I really wish she would have gotten some sort of Golden Globe nomination. This film in general, I wish it would have gotten some, I don't know, hype during the award season. Especially the cinematography, I thought it was great. But Jessie Buckley, she offers a very compelling portrayal of confusion. Her character's name is literally Young Woman, so of course her character itself is also ambiguous. But yeah, I mean, she offers a very compelling portrayal of confusion and internal conflict. We sort of see things from her perspective all the way through, maybe up until the last 10-15 minutes. But Jesse Plemons is also phenomenal in this film. He delivers a very subtle performance that veers between control and disintegration. I won't spoil too much, but it is kind of like a character study, this film. But yeah, supporting characters, Toni Collette and David Thewlis. David Thewlis is like, I'm pretty sure he plays Remus Lupin in Harry Potter. And so it was nice to see him in this film. Both of them just shine as these eccentric, emotionally unstable parents, you know, just wacky people in general. And so on one hand, it's alternatively hilarious, but it is also very unsettling. I think one of the like sort of categorical labels for this film was a horror. I don't think I'd go so far as to say this movie's a horror, but there are definitely some creepy and weird and unsettling elements for sure. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I am saying a lot of stuff I liked about this film, but at the end of the day, it is not a film for everyone. It is intentionally abstract, so much so that the narrative becomes so loose. And like I said, I felt like the story was almost like non-existent at some points, but like I guess the correct phrase would just be a loose narrative. It's so loose that it might frustrate viewers. It might be a turnoff, especially those who are probably expecting some coherence when watching it. They want to really know what's happening, but there's just so many questions that keep piling up as the movie progresses. And yeah, I mean, I will say though, it definitely offers intellectual and emotional rewards for those open to interpreting its layered symbolism. Another movie that could sort of be similar to how I just talked about this one would be like Mother, which is directed by Darren Aronofsky, stars Jennifer Lawrence. That was another film that I watched, which I was also very split on, because yes, if you choose to dissect it, it is actually a very intellectually stimulating film. But if you just treat it as it is, it's kind of like, well, what's the point, you know? If you treat it on a surface level, which I think most viewers go to a movie for, they just treat it on a surface level, then you're like, well, what's this? Like, why am I watching this? I feel like I wasted my time. But, and I could definitely see those types of reactions to this film. I think I've already read some. People think it was just a time waster. And I will say it is definitely less accessible than the other Charlie Kaufman films. But it's bold. And at the end of the day, I always respect ambitious storytelling. I always appreciate bold films, films that just, God, now I lost my train of thought. But anyways, films that are just like completely ambitious, completely haunting, stray away from the traditional linear narrative. And in a good way, this film is very unforgettable. There are a lot of moments in this film that I don't see happening in any of other contemporary movies, which is a good thing. And in all honesty, this is a film that's true in Kaufman fashion. This is a very Kaufman film. It's bizarre. It is fiendishly clever. It's an experience that invites deep reflection after, and honestly, maybe repeat viewings if you're into that sort of thing. I might watch this movie again. I might not. There are, of course, other films that I want to watch, but this was definitely, I had to go on YouTube. I had to search up Ending Explained, those types of videos, just because I think this is such an abstract film. But yeah. Oh, by the way, I didn't even mention this, but Jessie Buckley, apparently her role, Brie Larson, was originally cast, but she had to step down due to her commitment to Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame. Honestly, that just makes me appreciate Jessie Buckley's performance even more. No hate against Brie Larson, of course, she's a phenomenal actress, but I think Buckley just tapped into something so universal. Her character does a lot of internal monologuing. In my Letterboxd review, I sort of said it was very similar to Max Caulfield's internal monologuing in Life is Strange. I mentioned that I literally said this was like Life is Strange on acid, and it kind of is. Like, this film is very much like Life is Strange. It's like when you're controlling this non-playable character and you're like moving them around in a room and they're just interacting with different items. And then when they interact, they like say stuff that's in their head. They don't say it out loud, but it's in their head. That's kind of what this film felt like. You're really just inside the mind of Jessie Buckley's character. But again, yeah, her performance is amazing. Some quick flaws that I could give this film, because again, I didn't necessarily appreciate it all the way through. The pacing and the editing can be very, very distracting, especially the editing. The camera edits and how like the edits between the shots are kind of bizarre, and they're not very continuous. Of course, Charlie Kaufman himself is not a director. I don't know who edited this film, but it just was very distracting for sure. And also, the film is presented in such a state of hyper reality that trying to dissect this film, usually I'm a person that, like, as I'm watching a film, I'm trying to reevaluate my thoughts. Like, I'm trying to, like, okay, so we just did that. Now we're at this point. The character's about to do this. But it's so hard with this film. It's so hard to dissect it. It's practically impossible because I can't even keep track of what's happening. Like, there's so many bizarre elements to this film that I have so many questions, and because my mind is cluttered with, I don't know why I keep doing this with the mic, because my mind is cluttered with questions, it's hard for me to appreciate the film in that sense. Another thing, and I might have to do some more research on this. This might be a continuity error or whatever. Of course, this is adapted from a book. A lot of elements were sewn together. A lot of elements were left out for sure, which might upset, the book readers. There was a sequence with like the Jessie character. I should call her like the young lady because that's the character name. But the young lady, she like receives phone calls, and the phone calls are very cryptic. There's like a line of dialogue that's said by this anonymous person, but it's basically referring to a question or something, like whatever and I don't know what the guy actually says on the phone line, but whatever he says, it's never answered. Like, it's never really it's never tied back into the end of the film. Like, I feel like that just happened just for it to be weird. Like, I had no idea how this was tethered into the rest of the story. And so with stuff like that, it feels like sometimes the film can just it's like forcing this artistic and ambiguous approach down into your throat to the point where it literally makes no sense. And then you yourself are trying to search for the solutions and for the answers that probably weren't even in the writer's mindset in the first place. Like, that type of thing is called reaching. And I feel like I had to do some reaching for this film, or to like at least justify to myself especially why things were happening, because a lot of things that happen in this film are so strange. But yeah, anyways, the phone call thing, that just felt unanswered. And yeah, I mean, just sort of end off this review, this film really just feels like a mood at the end of the day, more than it feels like a mood or like an emotion as opposed to like a complete independent story. I understand this is an adaptation, but like any adaptation, the film itself has to be its own complete independent story. Otherwise, this just feels like a set of visuals attached to the book, like just a series of images. Even the car ride scenes, okay, so the car ride scenes, and I was thinking this to myself, and I wanted to make sure, I actually noted this down, I want to make sure I put this in my review. But the car ride scenes, there are like two of them, like one to the house and one like back, one away from the house. It involves Jessie Buckley and Jesse Plemons, both the main characters. It honestly feels like podcast episodes filled with philosophical discussions. It is weird. It's very dialogue heavy, which I don't mind. I know a lot of viewers will mind that, but it's so dialogue heavy, and it sometimes feels a bit unnatural. I don't know if people actually speak like that. Of course, this is set in a Charlie Kaufman world, but the dialogue felt very uncanny at times. It just felt like a podcast episode. Like, literally, the film, I feel like, would have the same effect if I listened to those car ride scenes in an audiobook, because there's not much camera work happening. It's just really these two characters speaking to one another about movies and about pop culture. And that's, I don't know. I don't know how I really interpreted that. I might have to rewatch this film again. I might have to rewatch those scenes specifically. But I don't know. I felt very mixed about it. On one hand, I really liked the dialogue. I think, again, Charlie Kaufman, at the end of the day, is a literary genius. I think a lot of the dialogue was very smart and very intelligently written. But I always kept asking myself, okay, but why? Like, I understand it's meant to be this whole, like, metaphor for, like, the thematic, what's happening in this film thematically. But they're just talking. It's just a conversation. It's a podcast inside this car. And so I felt like a lot more telling as opposed to showing. But then again, the showing element, the show not tell, really happens in those last 20 minutes. I keep referring to the last 20 minutes, but I think if that last act didn't happen, this score might have been like a 5 or a 6, because I'm thinking of ending things a 7 out of 10, which is of course a good rating. I did like the film overall. I think it's a good movie. I think it's really worth seeing. If you're interested in what I've said, but yeah, 7 out of 10. Would maybe watch again, but yeah, very interesting movie for sure. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.